this morning. Please kindly summarize for us exactly what this youth plan is and how it's going to amplify the youth voice in government and decision making.
Morena, and thank you for having me on this morning, and morena to everybody who is listening in. It was my absolute honour and privilege to be the opening speaker at the Involve conference yesterday and to launch the refreshed youth plan alongside of two members from my youth advisory group, Piper and Mani. So the refreshed youth plan is an exciting plan that has been led by our rangatahi. And I really want to emphasise that. It has an important role to play in government and that it ensures that their voice and leadership and action is taken into consideration, is actioned by government in us developing our policies and our legislation, particularly as they relate to our young people. Our young people have told us consistently, us pakeke, us matua, us adults, that they want to have a voice, to have a say in things that affect their future. And this plan has been shaped by them and is for us to use in the mahi that we do in Parliament, in government, and also in our communities.
Minister, how has this plan been put together? Who contributed to it?
That's a really great question, because I think if people that are reading this plan understand that this has been largely led by our rangatahi, that they can pick up this document and can read it and can see that it is the voices and the messages of our young people. So over 1,400 young people participated in the development of this refreshed youth plan. And I really want to acknowledge my youth advisory group. They are a collection of young people, really diverse from right across the motu, diverse backgrounds, ethnicity, and so on. And they worked with their communities to ensure that those youth voices were brought into the refreshing of this plan. So Mani, who is from South Auckland, was one of those people who worked with her rangatahi in her community to make sure their voices were captured in this plan. So over 1,400 rangatahi, the Ministry of Youth Development had a role in coordinating and facilitating that, but I really want to mihi to our young people because it was them.
How are Pacifica youth represented in this plan, Minister? Are there actions that have a focus specifically on Pacifica youth?
So Pacifica Youth is one of the cohorts, one of the special groups that we acknowledge amongst our rangatahi, how important it is to ensure that our young Pacifica rangatahi, taitamariki, have the ability to share their voice, leadership and action. As I said, Mani, who spoke alongside of me yesterday at the launch of this plan at the Involve conference, is just one of those young people on my youth advisory group who worked closely with her community to ensure that their voices were heard in this plan. And I really encourage everybody to go onto the ministry's website where you can download the plan and also see what the actions are attached to that.
How will this plan address the high proportion of Pacifica youth who are leaving high school with lower qualifications, and also the issue of Pacifica youth more likely to need to undertake foundation studies before entering tertiary education?
So I think the important thing to know about this plan is that the key message that has been coming back from our rangatahi is that they want to have a say about the policies, about the legislation, about the things government supports and funds that impacts on them. And so what I would say in terms of that is ensuring that those who are looking at those issues, looking to address those sorts of issues, make sure that they provide the space for our rangatahi Pacifica to be involved in discussing the issue and coming up with the solutions. That's really what this youth plan is all about, is encouraging those in decision-making positions, in leadership positions, to involve our rangatahi in those conversations. But one thing I hear from our rangatahi is how they want to be engaged with. And for example, they've said, feed us figuratively and literally, and break down the jargon. And when you are engaging with us, when you get our kōrero, make sure you loop back to us. show us how the kōrero that we shared actually informed the decisions that were made.
What strategies does the plan have for addressing Pacific youth unemployment and underemployment?
So I don't have the strategy in front of me right at this moment to be able to point specifically to where that was, but I go back to the point that I made earlier, which is what our rangatahi are saying is in terms of issues that affect them now and for their futures, they want to have a voice and a role in shaping what that looks like. So my challenge to my government colleagues, those that are responsible for that very issue that you talk about, is to ensure that they are involving our rangatahi in those conversations, in those problem-solving situations.
So what you're saying is that this is an engagement youth plan. Now, one issue that's been raised in other reports is that Pacifica youth are likely to be more indebted on average by the age of 25, but for lower equivalent qualifications. Will this plan address this issue?
So what this plan is really talking about is encouraging, like I said, those who work in government and in our communities to ensure that they are including and involving rangatahi in the discussions about those issues and in the solutions that we are coming up with to address those very issues and problems that you're talking about. So coming back to the point of the youth plan is the setting the vision and the strategic goal about ensuring that we have youth voice, leadership and action in all of the things that we are doing within government. And that's what this refreshed youth plan is all about. We also will work alongside rangatahi, various organisations and government departments to put the plan into action. And so some of the questions that you're asking about today and some of those issues will be the actions that are developed through this process, which really encourages youth engagement in that.
And as we wrap up, Minister, do you have any final thoughts on the youth plan that you'd like to share with our listeners?
I just strongly encourage everybody who's listening today to go onto the Ministry of Youth Development's website and to download the youth plan, remembering that this was led by our rangatahi with over 1,400 voices from right across our communities, diverse representation, inputting into this plan. Hear what our rangatahi have to say about what they want to see in terms of the mahi that we are doing in government and in our communities for them. They are 17% of our population, but 100% of our future. So it's important that our rangatahi have a space and an opportunity to be involved in the kōrero that impacts them.
If you're tuning in, we're catching up with the Minister for Youth, Willow-Jean Prime. Minister, we want to thank you for your time this morning. It's a pleasure having you on the show and we love hearing from you. And if you missed it, you can watch the full interview on our 531 PI Facebook page. Have a great day.